He walked into the gym with dirt on his hands. His eyes were quiet, like he wasn't thinking about talking. Just 5 minutes later, the man who had slapped his grandson couldn't get back up again. The gym smelled bad, like old sweat and people trying to be the best. It was Thursday night. The punching bags kept swinging back and forth. Gloves hit the bags again and again, making loud sounds like thump, thump, thump. People moved fast under the blinking lights. Coach Derek was yelling over all the noise, like a boss in a loud army movie. In one corner of the gym, a 14-year-old boy named Eli was getting ready. He was putting on his shin guards to protect his legs. Eli was smaller than the other kids. He was thin, quiet, and serious. Some of the louder kids didn't know what to think of him. He didn't tell jokes. He didn't act cool. He just watched. He learned. He moved. When it was time to rest, Coach Derek clapped his hands. "Water break. 2 minutes," he shouted. The kids ran to get water. They took off their gloves. One boy, named Marcus, was the biggest in the class. He looked at Eli and gave him a strange smile. "Hey," Marcus said, "why are you doing MMA anyway? You look too small to even break a stick." Some of the other kids laughed. Eli was quiet for a second. Then, in a calm voice, he said, "My grandpa used to be in the Special Forces. He taught me how to fight when I was little." The room got really quiet. Then everyone started laughing even louder. "Special Forces?" Marcus said, laughing. "What, like in a movie?" Another kid shouted, "Is your grandpa Rambo or something?" More kids laughed and made silly army sounds and slow-motion punches like in action movies. Coach Derek looked over and asked, "What's going on?" Eli said his grandpa trained Special Forces. Marcus shouted. Coach Derek smiled in a mean way. He walked over slowly. "That true, soldier boy?" he asked. "Yes, sir," Eli said, looking right at Coach Derek. "He trained soldiers in boxing and survival when he was in the army." Coach Derek laughed loudly. "Boxing lessons for Navy SEALs? That's funny." The kids laughed even more. Some laughs were meaner now. Eli didn't laugh. He didn't move. He just looked at Coach Derek with quiet eyes. His fists were closed tightly at his sides. Coach Derek stopped smiling. "You want respect in this gym," he said. "You have to earn it. Not by talking about some old man's bedtime stories." "I wasn't trying to impress anyone," Eli said softly but clearly. Coach Derek's face got serious. Then slap. Coach Derek hit Eli across the face. It made a loud smack sound. Eli's head turned to the side, and his cheek turned red right away. The whole room got quiet. A girl gasped. One boy slowly put down his water bottle. A drop of sweat rolled down Eli's face. But he didn't fall. He didn't cry. He just stood there, staring at the floor. Coach Derek turned around like nothing happened. "Get back to work. Stories don't win fights," he said. The kids started moving again, but everything felt weird now. Eli walked slowly to the wall. He didn't train for the rest of the class. He just stood there. No one looked at him. No one said anything. When the class ended, the kids laughed and joked as they left. Eli packed his bag quietly. He looked at the floor. Then he looked at the door. And he walked out into the night. His cheek still hurts. His pride felt even worse. He was quiet, angry, sad. But most of all, he felt like something inside him was growing. Something strong. The street outside was quiet. Eli walked alone. The streetlights buzzed above him. His shadow looked long and skinny on the sidewalk. His cheek still burned, but now the pain felt cold. Not just from the slap, but from being hurt by someone he trusted. He didn't walk straight home. He walked the long way. He walked past the gas station that was closed. Past his school that he never liked. Past the alley he used to run through when he thought being fast made you strong. When he finally got home, the sky was a dark purple color, like a bruise. A garden hose was lying across the yard like a sleeping snake. Near the tomato garden, a man was kneeling on one knee. He was older, strong, and very still. He wore a flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His hands were dirty from working in the soil. His black cap was old and low over his face, but his eyes still saw everything. The man didn't look up. He didn't need to. "You're early," he said, still brushing dirt off a plant. "It didn't last long," Eli said. The man stood up, not quickly, but with slow strength. Every part of him moved like it had been through a lot. He looked at Eli's red cheek and didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. They sat together on the porch. The wood creaked under their feet. Eli dropped his gym bag with a heavy sound. Inside, the kitchen light was on. It smelled like meatloaf and potatoes. Warm, like home. Eli washed his hands in the sink without a word. The man walked to an old cabinet and opened it. He pulled out a small cloth. Inside it was a brown leather patch. It looked very old. There was a picture of a boxing glove stitched on it, and 3 letters, RSV. "Do you remember this?" the man asked. Eli nodded. "It was on your gym bag from the army base." "Fort Bragg," the man said. "They gave it to trainers who passed the hardest fighting program. One guy bled on this trying to prove he could win. I kept it." Eli looked at the patch but didn't touch it. "Did you show this to anyone?" the man asked. "No, sir." "Good," he said. Then he sat down. "Because the world doesn't need to know who you are, until the day they realize they were wrong about you." Eli looked up. The man didn't blink. "Eat up," he said. "We leave early." "Where are we going?" Eli asked. The man took a bite of meatloaf. "Back to the gym." Morning came. The sunlight came through the kitchen window like a soft movie. Eli sat at the table with a bowl of cereal. He hadn't eaten much. The red mark on his cheek was darker now. It didn't just hurt his skin. It hurt deeper. The man, his grandfather, Sylvester Stallone, sat across from him. He drank coffee from an old mug. His hands were big and covered in old scars. They looked strong even when still. Neither of them talked. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. After a while, Stallone stood up. He washed his mug and dried his hands with a towel he had used forever. "Put your shoes on," he said. "Where are we going?" Eli asked. "We're not letting fear sit in your seat," his grandpa said and walked away. Eli didn't ask more. He just got ready. 15 minutes later, Eli stood outside, wearing his MMA shirt and holding his gym bag. He hoped maybe they were going to get breakfast, or go to a park, anywhere but the gym. Then he heard the truck door open. His grandpa didn't say anything as Eli got in. The truck started with a loud sound. It drove slowly like it had something heavy inside. The radio played a soft song. It was old, from before Eli was born. Something about fire and dancing in the dark. They didn't sing along. After a while, Eli asked, "Why are we going back?" His grandpa didn't look away from the road. "Because I walked away once," he said. "Not this time." "You're not mad?" Eli asked, his voice small. "At me?" his grandpa asked. "For what?" "For getting hit," Eli said. "Taking a hit isn't failing," Stallone said. "Staying down is." The truck turned down a street Eli knew. His heart beat faster. He saw the gym, the sign, the fence. It looked the same, but it felt different. "I don't have class today," Eli said. "I know," Stallone answered. "Then why?" Eli started, but stopped when his grandpa got out of the truck. He moved slowly. Not angry. Just ready. He shut the door like closing an old story. Eli followed, even though his legs felt heavy. As they walked to the gym door, Stallone said in a quiet voice, "Some men build gyms to train bodies." He put his hand on the door handle. "I want to see what this one was built for." Then he opened the door. Inside, the gym was loud. People were punching bags. Music played from old speakers. Coach Derek stood in the middle of the room. He was watching 2 teens spar. He looked up and smiled in a mean way. "Well, look who came back," he said loudly. "Didn't get enough yesterday?" He pointed at Eli. "Brought back up this time, huh?" Stallone stepped inside. He wore the same old shirt and cap. But something about how he stood made everyone quiet. The gym didn't feel so loud anymore. Coach Derek looked at him. Then he laughed. "No way," he said. "Who's this guy? Your grandpa?" What's he gonna do? Teach me to run upstairs like in the movies? Some of the older kids laughed. But no one laughed for long. Because when Stallone took one step forward, the room started to feel different. Like something real had just walked in. And this time, nobody knew what would happen next. Stallone didn't move. He didn't talk. He just walked in. Each step was slow and heavy, like he wasn't going to a gym, but back to a place he never wanted to leave. He stopped at the edge of the mat. His hands stayed in his coat pockets. He stared at Derek. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. Just standing there said enough. Eli stood behind him, not sure what to say or do. The same mat he got hurt on yesterday now felt scary and important. Derek smiled in a mean way. "Are you here to complain, old man?" he said. "Want me to say sorry, 'cause your kid made stuff up?" Still, Stallone didn't say anything. One of the students, Marcus, fidgeted and looked from Coach to the quiet man. Another kid whispered, "Is that him?" Derek raised his voice. "You think wearing flannel makes you the boss here?" Finally, Stallone spoke. His voice was quiet, a little old, but strong. "I didn't come to talk," he said. He looked at Eli, then back to Derek. "But if you're done talking, maybe I have something worth saying." His words didn't feel like punches. They felt like the bell ringing for round one. The room got very quiet, not because of the words, but because Stallone stood so still afterward. No angry moves. No yelling. Just calm. Heavy stillness. Derek crossed his arms. "This is my gym. I make the rules." Stallone looked around the gym. He saw the old banners, the bruised hands, and the boys trying to act tough. "I've seen gyms like this," he said. He looked at Derek again. "They don't make real fighters. Just noise." The room got even quieter. A younger kid lowered his gloves. Another stepped off the mat quietly. Eli looked at his grandpa. Something new showed in his eyes. "What do you want?" Derek asked, growling. Stallone didn't blink. "Not want," he said. "Remember." He nodded at Eli. "Go warm up." Eli blinked. "Me?" Stallone nodded just once. That was all. Eli stepped forward. He was nervous, breathing fast, but he moved. And for the first time since the slap, the room moved too. Eli walked across the mat, like he was walking through a memory. He stretched the way Grandpa taught him, in the garage with old posters. Shoulders rolled, neck turned, knees bent. But today, each move felt heavy. Behind him, Stallone stood still, like a statue in the middle of a storm. He didn't walk around. He didn't talk. He just watched. Coach Derek stayed far back, arms crossed, looking around nervously. Some kids whispered. Others kept staring at Stallone, trying to figure out why the room felt smaller now. Derek cracked his neck. "Hey, old man," he shouted. "This ain't your Rocky movie. What are you trying to prove?" Stallone looked slowly around the room. His eyes stopped on the back wall, where a certificate was in a crooked frame. "Who signed that?" he asked. Derek blinked. "What?" Stallone pointed. "Your teaching certificate. The one from the Combat Federation. Who signed it?" Derek smirked. "Why? You want a copy?" Stallone didn't answer. He walked over to the wall. The student stepped out of his way without being asked. He took the frame off the wall, turned it around. His thumb touched the seal. He frowned. "This isn't real," he said. The gym went quiet. Derek laughed nervously. "You think you know what's real, old man?" A tall teenager spoke up. "He made us pay more if we didn't bring in new kids." Another said, "He threatened me when I didn't." A girl in the back whispered, "He said fear was the only way to learn." Stallone turned to Derek. His voice was lower now, like a heavy weight. "You built this gym on fear." Derek's face turned red. "You don't know anything about what I built." Stallone took a step forward. His steps were slow but loud. "I know this," he said. "You hit my grandson for telling the truth." Eli froze mid-stretch. His hand closed into a fist without him meaning to. "And I know," Stallone went on, Because once I saw a man like you break a boy's ribs in a locker room, while I stood outside and did nothing. The gym was still. Stallone didn't yell. His voice just got deeper. I didn't help. I thought being quiet was safer. He looked at Eli. But being quiet becomes part of the problem. Derek laughed. Are you trying to be a hero now? Stallone stared at him. His face was like stone, but his eyes were on fire. I don't care what they call me. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled something out. It was a brown patch, old and stained. It had a picture of a boxing glove and the letters RSV on it. He held it up, not to Derek, but to everyone. This was given to people who trained real fighters, not bullies. He turned to Eli. Finish warming up. This time, no one laughed. Coach Derek stepped onto the mat. He looked like he was in charge again. He smiled, but it wasn't nice. It was tight and angry. You brought a patch and some sad stories. How about you show them something real? He pulled off his hoodie. His wrists were wrapped in tape. His chest puffed out. His walk had that same swagger. Stallone didn't move. You scared? Derek shouted. Still no answer. You hiding behind that patch? 'Cause you got nothing left? Stallone didn't say anything. Then he slowly took off his cap. He folded it carefully, like it was special. He put it on the bench, next to the patch. Then he stepped onto the mat. Everyone held their breath. He didn't stretch. He didn't make tough poses. He just rolled one shoulder, then the other. The sound of his joints cracking was louder than Derek's jokes. His stance was easy, but strong, like a wall made of breath and bones. Derek bounced around, fists up, trying to look younger than he was. Are you sure your doctor pays for broken arms? He joked. Still, Stallone didn't answer. Then it began. Derek ran at him first. Fast. Hard. He threw a big punch. Stallone didn't panic. He turned just right. His foot spun a little, moving away from the punch like he saw it coming 5 seconds early. Derek stumbled past him. Stallone turned with him, one hand on Derek's shoulder, the other behind his leg. He tripped him easily. Derek fell to the mat. He groaned. Everyone gasped. He jumped up, red-faced. Lucky move. No, Stallone said, his voice rough like gravel. You got cocky. Derek charged again, wilder this time. Stallone didn't block. He guided me. He stepped inside the swing, caught Derek's wrist, and twisted. Then, with one smooth motion, he brought Derek down again. This time, Derek was on the ground, face down, his arm pinned tight. It didn't look mean. It looked clean. Fast. Done. Derek groaned. Let me go. Stallone's voice was calm but strong. If I let go, will you learn anything? The gym was silent. Phones were out. No one said a word. Derek didn't answer. Stallone let go and stood up slowly. He didn't brag. Derek rolled over, out of breath, embarrassed. Eli stood at the edge, eyes wide, not because he'd won, but because he understood. Stallone looked at the kids. This isn't about beating someone, he said. It's about knowing when not to become them. He looked down at Derek. You hit a kid just to feel strong, he said. Then he looked at Eli. Eli didn't fight back, but he stood back up. The room was really quiet, so quiet it felt louder than any cheer. In the corner, the youngest student dropped his phone. Click. The sound was so loud, it echoed across the mat like a bell ringing. For the first time, nobody was looking at Derek anymore. Everyone was staring at the man who didn't hit first. Everyone saw what was right. By the time they stepped off the mat, the world had already started to change. It began with a whisper. Then someone tapped the screen. Then a bright flash. A student had taken a video. The phone screen showed Derek's face pressed into the mat. Stallone had stopped him. Someone uploaded the video with the words, Old man stops an MMA coach in front of class for hitting his grandson. By the time Eli took off his gloves, the video had 300 views. 10 minutes later, a news van pulled up. The front door opened with a loud sound. A young reporter came in, just a little older than Eli. A cameraman followed her, looking surprised by what he saw. The gym was still quiet, but it felt different, like when a storm ends and you're not sure if it's really over. Derek sat in the corner, holding his wrist. He tried to act like he didn't care, but his face was tight. Sweat dripped down his face, not from working out, but from fear. The reporter walked toward Stallone. "Mr. Stallone," she said softly, "do you have anything to say?" Stallone didn't look at her. He was staring at the wall behind the front desk. There were fake certificates hanging there, crooked and not real. "Is it true this coach hit your grandson?" the reporter asked. Stallone finally spoke, still not looking at her. "It's not just about my grandson," he said. The camera zoomed in. "It's about what happens when someone thinks being mean is the same as being strong." The room stayed quiet, but a girl with a ponytail stepped forward. Her voice shook a little, but she kept talking. "He made us pay more money if we didn't bring new kids," she said. "He told us it was motivation." Another student joined in. "I paid $500 last month just to stay in class." Then Eli spoke, softly but clearly. "He told me I'd never be good unless I stopped acting like I was in a fairy tale. Then he slapped me. In front of everyone." The reporter looked shocked. The camera caught every word. Stallone finally turned to face everyone. He walked to the front desk and reached behind it. He pulled one of the certificates off the wall. He turned it over. No name, no stamp, nothing. He held it up. "Did you make this fake yourself?" he asked Derek. "Or did someone lie for you?" Derek's eyes looked around the room, but he didn't say a word. Stallone placed the paper on the ground. Then he stepped on it, hard and silent. A student laughed, not to be mean, but like a weight was lifted. Then Stallone walked to the whiteboard. He erased, "Coach Derek." He picked up a black marker and wrote 2 words, "Earn honor." Then he turned around and faced the students. "I'm not here to take over," he said. He looked at the kids, the ones who used to flinch, the ones who used to giggle nervously. "But I won't walk away while someone teaches you how to be scared." No one clapped, but no one left either. They just stood there. They understood something big had just happened, and it came from the man who didn't yell. The big gate creaked open. Morning light spilled into Stallone's backyard like it had been waiting all night. The grass was bumpy. A hose lay in a pile near a dented watering can. Some old mats were laid out on the dirt. It didn't look like a gym, but it felt like one. Eli stood near the porch, barefoot, leading warm-ups. His voice wasn't loud, but the 5 students who showed up listened carefully. Then 7 students. Then 10. They stretched and breathed, not because they were told to, but because they wanted to. Stallone watched from the shadows of the porch. His arms were crossed. His cap was low. He didn't say anything. He just watched. There were no punching bags, no mirrors, no scoreboard, only hard work, only the truth, the kind that doesn't need shiny papers on a wall. Eli finished a warm-up. He wiped his forehead and gave a small nod. The students paired up on their own. No coach shouted names. No one yelled. They just moved. A girl helped a smaller boy fix his feet. A teen who used to make fun now gave quiet advice about balance. The sounds were different here. No music, no bragging, just breathing, moving, and the soft crunch of grass. In Stallone's mind, a memory came back. Another backyard. Long ago. He was just a boy then, wearing gloves that were too big, carrying fears that felt too heavy. His old coach didn't teach respect. He taught fear. Stallone blinked the memory away. Today was not the same. Today he did the right thing. A knock came from the gate. A mother stood outside, holding her little boy's hand. She didn't say anything. She just looked at the yard. She wasn't looking for trophies. She was looking for something true. Stallone nodded. The boy ran across the yard, barefoot. He joined the group with a big smile. Eli gave him a silent high five. That was the only welcome he needed. After an hour, the training slowed down. The kids sat in a big circle under a tree. Their chests rose and fell. Their hands were dusty. They didn't chat much. They just breathed. They felt like they belonged. Eli walked over to Stallone. A towel was over his shoulder. "Do you think this will last?" he asked. Stallone didn't answer right away. He looked at the yard. Something real was growing here. Something stronger than any gym walls or fancy signs. "If it was built on fear," Stallone said, "it wouldn't last." Eli nodded slowly. "But this," Stallone said, "this was built on a bruise. And bruises fade." He looked at his grandson. "But the lesson stays." They both turned and watched the kids. They were sparring again. Like, careful, focused, not fighting for trophies, but for truth. As the sun began to go down, the training ended. The kids stepped off the mats. Some laughed. Others wiped their faces with their sleeves. The backyard smelled like cut grass and hard work, the kind that earns respect. Eli stood by the hose, washing his feet. His shirt was sticky with sweat. There was a small cut on his arm, proof that he gave his best. Stallone watched from the porch. The sun made long shadows behind him. He was holding something in his hand. A piece of leather, wrapped in cloth. It was an old boxing patch. It had a little blood stain, and 3 small letters stitched in it. RSV. He walked slowly toward Eli. Each step felt heavy. Eli looked up, but didn't speak. He stood taller now. Still small for his age, but strong on the inside. Stallone didn't give a speech. He just held out the patch. Eli stared at it. "You took the hit," Stallone said. "You got back up. You didn't become mean." Eli swallowed. "But I didn't win." "No," Stallone said. "But you didn't turn cruel. That's harder." Eli reached out and took the patch. He held it gently, like it might disappear. "I don't know if I deserve this," he said. "Deserve is the wrong word," Stallone said. "The real question is, can you carry it without letting it carry you?" Eli looked down at the patch. "What do I do with it?" "Keep it," Stallone said, "until someone else needs it more than you do." They stood together, a grandfather and a grandson, in between the past and whatever was coming next. A boy nearby slipped and fell. He scraped his elbow. Before he could even stand, 2 other kids rushed over. They helped him up, dusted him off. No teasing, no yelling, just kindness, just being good. Eli saw it. So did Stallone. "That's what real strength is," Stallone whispered. "Not how hard you hit, but how easy you make it for others to get back up." Later, the girl with the ponytail came back. She held a folder full of papers. "We got signatures," she said. "Parents want to help us rent a space to make this a real gym, not just backyard real." Stallone looked at the papers, then at the kids, who were still stretching and chatting. "This is real," he said. "What you want is just a roof." She smiled. "So, is that a yes?" Stallone looked at Eli. "It's a maybe." And somehow that was enough. A few weeks passed. The grass in the yard now had paths from all the training. Footwork had made trails. The tree in the corner gave shade to new kids. The mats didn't look borrowed anymore. They looked earned. No banners. No fancy words. Just sweat. Just breathing. Just effort. Eli arrived early that morning. Earlier than usual. He carried some cones and a pair of training gloves. No one had told him to come early. He just did. He laid out the mats. Tapped the corners twice. That was his special way. His shirt had little holes now. His shoes weren't fully tied. But he stood tall. Stallone watched from the porch. His coffee was hot in his hands. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. When warm-ups ended, and the group gathered under the tree, Eli stood in front. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just there, present. Stallone stepped off the porch slowly. He held the old patch again, worn and soft, full of memories. "I used to carry this," Stallone said, "not to show off, but to remind myself of who I had to be, even when no one was watching." Everyone listened. Not because he was loud, but because he was honest. Then I gave it to someone who needed it more. Not because he was ready, but because he was brave. He looked at Eli. You didn't let the pain change you. You didn't run. You stood tall. He handed Eli the patch again. This time, it wasn't about passing something down. It was about sending something forward. You earned this, Stallone said. Not for what you did in the gym, but for what you chose after. Eli took it with both hands. He didn't smile. He just nodded. The others clapped. Not loud, not fake, just real. After practice, one glove was left on the mat. Eli walked over to it, but he didn't pick it up right away. He stood still, thinking. Stallone came over with a folding chair. You ever think about opening a real gym? Eli asked. Stallone shook his head. This is a real gym. I mean with walls. Stallone took a sip of his coffee. Walls don't make it real. Choices do. Eli looked at the patch in his hand. What if someone else needs it? Stallone looked right at him. Then you'll know when it's time to let it go. They sat together as the sky got darker. No ring. No loud crowd. Just a boy and a man. Still training. Still growing. Still choosing to be strong in the right way. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.